Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. When most people think about investments, they probably picture tech giants or maybe booming real estate markets. But today we're looking at something a little different, a company making waves in nuclear energy and defense.
Oh, wow.
BWX Technologies. Not exactly your typical investment, right?
That's what makes this so interesting. BWXT on the New York Stock Exchange is a fascinating example of how a company can operate in sectors that seem niche but actually play a crucial role in national security and energy infrastructure. And that can translate to some intriguing investment possibilities.
You've shared some research that shows BWX Technologies is currently trading at $114.53 a share.
Right.
That's a slight dip of 0.6% from yesterday, but over the past year, the stock has jumped a whopping 31.9%.
Wow.
So on the surface, we see some recent volatility, but the bigger picture shows significant growth.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about that contrast?
What's fascinating is that even with this recent dip, analysts are still giving BWX Technologies a strong buy rating. That suggests they're seeing something beyond these short-term fluctuations.
Okay.
So to really understand what's going on, we need to look deeper into the company's performance and, more importantly, its future prospects.
Okay, let's unpack this. Your research highlights some impressive financial wins for BWX Technologies last quarter. They beat earnings expectations, bringing in 67 cents EPS versus the estimated 66 cents.
Yeah.
And their revenue hit $590 million.
Yeah.
Do these figures alone justify the strong buy rating?
Those are definitely strong numbers, and they point to BWX Technologies' ability to deliver consistent results.
Right.
But remember, we're talking about investing, which means we need to look beyond just the current snapshot. Analysts are projecting an annual earnings growth rate of about 11.4% for BWX Technologies.
Okay.
Now, that might be slightly below the overall market, but it's still a healthy growth rate, especially in a sector not known for rapid expansion.
Right. Context is key. And speaking of consistency, your research also points to BWX Technologies' commitment to dividend payouts.
Yeah.
They've increased dividends for the past 8 years straight.
Exactly.
That's got to be appealing for investors looking for stability and long-term value.
Absolutely. That kind of reliable dividend policy signals confidence in future performance and a commitment to rewarding shareholders. It's one of those factors that can make a company particularly attractive for certain investment strategies.
So we've got this picture of a company with solid financials, consistent dividends, and a strong buy rating. Yet the stock has dipped recently.
Right.
It seems like there's a bit of a disconnect there.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. The research you shared suggests that this dip might be connected to some major moves BWX Technologies has been making lately, specifically in the area of acquisitions.
Acquisitions, huh? Always a sign that a company is looking to shake things up.
Precisely. And these aren't just minor deals. BWX Technologies just acquired Connectrix for $525 million a move, aimed at boosting their nuclear services capabilities, particularly in lifecycle management for nuclear power and radiopharmaceuticals. That last one, radiopharmaceuticals, is a sector with huge growth potential, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
That's a hefty investment. It seems like BWX Technologies is really putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to expanding their footprint in the nuclear sector. What else can you tell me about Connectrix?
Well, Connectrix is projected to bring in about $300 million in revenue in 2024 alone.
Yeah.
And this is key. The acquisition will effectively double the workforce of BWX Technologies' commercial operations segment.
Wow.
That's a significant injection of expertise and manpower.
Double the workforce.
Yeah.
That's a bold move. It definitely signals their commitment to growth. But wait, I think I read something about another acquisition as well, right?
You're right. Just before the Connectrix news, BWX Technologies also finalized the acquisition of L3 Harris's Aerojet Ordnance Tennessee business. This one strengthens their foothold in national security operations and adds to their portfolio of specialized materials. It's a smart move to diversify their offerings and tap into a stable, government-driven market.
So 2 major acquisitions back to back. That's a lot for the market to digest, even for a company with BWX Technologies' track record. Could that be contributing to the recent dip in their stock price?
It's definitely a possibility. The market often reacts with some uncertainty when a company takes on large acquisitions. Investors are likely assessing the long-term implications, trying to determine whether these acquisitions will ultimately pay off. And that can lead to some short-term volatility. It's important to remember that these acquisitions aren't just about getting bigger. They're strategic moves aimed at positioning BWX Technologies as a leader in cutting-edge technologies. That will be vital for the future of both energy and defense.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Give me an example. What makes these acquisitions so strategic?
Let's look at Kinectrics again. They're heavily involved in life cycle management for nuclear power plants. This means they're not just building new reactors, they're experts in maintaining and extending the life of existing ones.
Okay.
That's a market that's going to be around for decades to come.
I see. So they're tapping into a long-term need, not just chasing the latest trends.
Exactly. And on top of that, they're getting into radiopharmaceuticals, a rapidly growing field with huge potential for treating diseases like cancer. BWX Technologies is covering all the bases, from building and maintaining reactors to using nuclear technology for medical purposes.
That's a pretty impressive range. It sounds like they're not just riding the wave of the current nuclear renaissance, but actively shaping the future of the entire industry. But let's be realistic. Any investment comes with risks. What are some potential downsides here?
You're absolutely right. No investment is a sure thing, and BWS Technologies is no exception. One potential risk is the regulatory environment surrounding nuclear power. It's a highly regulated industry, and any changes in regulations could impact BWX Technologies' operations and profitability.
That's a good point. The nuclear industry has always had to navigate a complex web of rules and regulations.
Exactly. And then there's the inherent risk associated with nuclear technology itself. While safety standards are incredibly high, accidents can happen. And any such event could have a significant impact on BWX Technologies' reputation and financial performance.
Right, those are valid concerns. But BWX Technologies is also involved in the defense sector. Wouldn't that provide some diversification and stability?
You're absolutely right. Their involvement in defense does provide some balance. Government contracts tend to be long-term and relatively stable. However, even the defense sector is subject to budget cuts and shifting priorities.
So there's always some level of uncertainty no matter what industry you're investing in. It seems like with BWX Technologies, you're betting on their ability to navigate these challenges and capitalize on the growing demand for nuclear technologies.
Precisely. And that's where their management team comes in. They have a proven track record of success in this industry. They've made strategic acquisitions, secured major contracts, and consistently delivered value to shareholders.
So it sounds like a lot hinges on the leadership's ability to execute their vision.
Yes, that's a key factor to consider. But from what we've seen so far, they seem to be making all the right moves. They're investing in the future, diversifying their portfolio, and positioning themselves as a leader in a rapidly evolving industry.
All right, so let's say I'm convinced and ready to buy some BWX Technologies stock. What's a good entry point?
Well, remember that the stock is currently trading around $114.53.
Right.
It's down slightly from its recent highs, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bargain.
So what should I be looking for?
Keep an eye on those technical indicators we discussed earlier. You're familiar with RSI, but just to recap, it helps us gauge whether a stock is overbought or oversold.
Yeah.
In this case, the RSI is nearing oversold territory, which could signal a buying opportunity. Also, if the stock breaks above its 50-day moving average, that could be another positive sign.
Got it. So I need to be patient and wait for the right moment to strike.
Exactly. And remember, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Always good advice. Now, what about the long-term prospects for BWX Technologies? Where do you see this company 5 years from now?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's hard to predict with certainty. But if I had to speculate, I'd say BWX Technologies is well positioned for continued growth. The demand for nuclear energy is only going to increase in the coming years as countries seek to reduce their carbon emissions and transition to cleaner energy sources. Nuclear power is becoming an increasingly attractive option.
So BWX Technologies' expertise in building and maintaining nuclear reactors will be in high demand.
Exactly. And don't forget their involvement in radiopharmaceuticals. That's a market with enormous growth potential. As medical technology advances, the use of nuclear medicine is only going to become more widespread.
It sounds like BWX Technologies is riding a wave that's just getting started.
I think that's a fair assessment. They're at the forefront of a major technological shift, and if they continue to execute their strategy effectively, they could be one of the biggest winners in the coming decade.
Wow, that's exciting. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
There are still challenges to overcome and risks to manage.
Of course. But that's the nature of investing. It's all about weighing the potential rewards against the inherent risks. And with BWX Technologies, I think the potential rewards are substantial.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've discussed BWX Technologies' financials, their recent acquisitions, the technical indicators, the risks and potential rewards, and even their long-term prospects. Is there anything else to consider?
One thing we haven't touched on yet is the broader geopolitical landscape. The role of nuclear energy in defense is constantly evolving, and BWX Technologies' future will be shaped by global events and policy decisions.
That's an important point. The world is a complex and ever-changing place, and any investment, especially in sectors as sensitive as nuclear energy and defense, is going to be influenced by geopolitical factors.
Exactly. So while we can analyze financial statements and technical indicators all day long, it's crucial to stay informed about global events and how they might impact the companies we're investing in.
That's a great reminder. Investing isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the world around us and how businesses operate within that context.
Absolutely. Investing isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding the bigger picture and how global events can shape industries and markets.
One thing that's really struck me throughout our conversation is how BWX Technologies isn't just reacting to the market. They're actively shaping it.
That's a keen observation. They're not just sitting back and waiting for opportunities to come their way. They're proactively identifying trends, making strategic acquisitions, and investing in technologies that will drive the future of their industries.
Exactly, and I think that's a key takeaway for any investor.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just follow the herd. You need to be able to anticipate change and position yourself accordingly.
Absolutely. The most successful investors are the ones who can see beyond the present and envision what the future holds.
So as we wrap up our look at BWX Technologies, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to our listeners who are considering adding this stock to their portfolio?
I'd say do your homework. Don't just rely on our analysis or anyone else's for that matter. Dig into the company's financials, read industry reports, understand the risks and potential rewards.
And remember, investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's a great point. Don't get caught up in the short-term fluctuations of the market. Focus on the long-term fundamentals of the company and its growth prospects.
And most importantly, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Wise words. Investing always involves risk. But by doing our research and making informed decisions, we can minimize those risks and maximize our potential for success.
Well said. I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about BWX Technologies, from their financial performance to their strategic acquisitions, from the technical indicators to the broader market outlook.
We've left no stone unturned, and we've equipped our listeners with the knowledge they need to make an informed decision about whether or not to invest in this intriguing company.
Exactly. Now, before we sign off, we want to remind everyone to subscribe to Investing Talk Podcast and leave us a comment with your thoughts on BWXT. We love hearing from our listeners, and your feedback helps us make the show even better.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and fellow investors. The more people we can reach with this information, the more informed and empowered our investment community will become.
Thanks for joining us today on Investing Talk Podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode into the world of investing. Until then, happy investing.